Hi boys and girls, Mrs. LaBeouf here, and I have been doing two things that I think are really fun. One is I've been doing some things with Play-Doh. I love Play-Doh because it really is fun to squish it and feel it, and you can do so many cool things with it. Another is that I have been looking in a book that I really like. It's my atlas. Now, I know you're probably thinking Mrs. LaBeouf is a little boring, loving an atlas, but it tells us all about the world. And I just think it's so cool. I put a marker on two pictures I'd like to show you. The first one is right inside the cover. Now, this one is really cool to me because this is actually a photograph of the Earth taken from outer space. Is that cool or what? From a satellite. And it shows what the world looks like from way out in outer space. You can see the desert areas. You can see the areas that have a lot of green grass, and you can see the ocean. You can even see the ice. It's so cool. Now, when we look at the world, we learn a lot about it. We know that it's actually a ball. It's a sphere. It's all the way around, all over. But when we look at maps, it looks flat. Now, I like this one too because it shows us all the different continents, the big pieces of land, and the countries within them. And then even the oceans and their names. I love learning the names of new places. So, if you look at this one, right here, it says United States. And that's the country we live in, but our continent is bigger. It's North America. And then we get to the little part of the United States where we live, which is Pennsylvania, the state, and then even our city, which for me is Allentown. You might have a different name to yours. So, it's so cool to learn about it. You might ask mom and dad to get you an atlas, and an atlas would be a great way to learn about the world. I just think it's really cool to learn about people and places all over. When I started thinking about that, and I had my Play-Doh, I started thinking, could I make the world with Play-Doh? What do you think? Do you think I could make it? If I made it, would I make it flat, a circle, or could I make it round like a ball? And then I saw something really cool that I could do with Play-Doh, and I'm going to show you. It was having Play-Doh that looks like this. Now look, what color? Not much color, sort of cream color. But you put a surprise on the inside and you squish it and you squeeze it and you squish it and you squeeze it. And look, something magic is starting to happen. You're going to see it in just a minute. Look at that. It's turning a color. I put a secret in the middle, and it was food coloring. Now, if mommy's willing, or daddy, or grandmom, anybody is willing to make Play-Doh for you, it's just flour, water, oil, salt, cream of tartar. That's what I use when I cook my Play-Doh. You can get nice soft Play-Doh, and if you mash it and squish it and mash it and squish it, the magic color starts to come. Now this is really cool because what color is my Play-Doh turning? Green. Green just like the leaves behind me. Green just like my shirt. Green does happen to be one of my favorite colors. Now I've got to really mash this Play-Doh to get the green all the way through. Do you know how good this is for your fingers? It makes them so strong. It's like little workouts for your fingers and your hands. It's going to help you be able to hold your pencil better, hold your scissors better, do all kinds of things. Now I have squished this one a good bit of time, and I've got a nice piece of green Play-Doh right now. But guess what? I have another one. Wonder what color this one's gonna be. Let's squish it and see. See my fingers working? I'm mashing. I'm seeing a little bit of color. Are you? Can you see it? You can look and see if you can figure out what color it is. I'm gonna mash it really hard. I might even mash it this way. One hand mashing into the other. And let's see what color I'm getting. Can you tell? A little. Gonna have to keep working, aren't I? You know, again, it's my fingers, my hands, doing a lot of work. Now, I did not have as much of this food color left, so I might not get as bright of a color as I had hoped. But I think I'm getting to see it. Let's see. Gonna really mash, really mash. Okay, so it's showing up some, not as much as I had hoped. Guess what color this one was? Blue. It's hard to tell, isn't it? It's like blue on a cloudy day. So then I was thinking I could roll it. Look at this if I go slow. I'm rolling the Play-Doh between my hands over and over and over again. And what is it making? A ball, right? Mine's not quite perfect. I'll roll it on my atlas for a minute and it gets a little nicer. And that made me think I could do it like the earth. Look at this. I can take a pinch of green and I'll make a shape sort of like North America. And I'll put that on there. Look at that. Can you see? And I could put a pinch that's like South America. And then look at that, I'm making my globe. And I can play with the Play-Doh and have a lot of fun. And it's like the world. And you know what? When I was doing that, it made me think about a song that we usually sing at the end of the year. And I do really like this song. I like it a lot because it reminds me about our world, but I like it because it reminds me of all of you. It reminds me of God and how much He loves us and how He takes care of us. So I thought I would teach it to you. It's He's got the whole world in His hands. Now, when we do this song, when we say He's got the whole world in His hands, we make the world. So we've got the whole world and then in His hands because we're in God's hands, so our whole world. And He's got the whole wide world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. Now there's some other verses too. So He's got you and me, brother. Usually the boys would sing that, but I'm going to sing it all. You sing along. He's got you and me, brother. So for you, you point. For me, you put your thumbs to yourself. He's got you and me, brother, in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. And then I guess we could do the whole world in His hands. That would work out a lot easier, wouldn't it? He's got the whole world, make it round, in His hands. And then He's got you and me, sister, for all the girls, in His hands. He's got you and me, sister, in His hands. He's got you and me, sister, in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. Do you see how I'm using my hands to make that round world? I have to sort of lean back when I do it to stay on the camera. I'll scoot back. And then He's got all of His children in His hands. He's got all of His children all around that whole big world. Remember when we saw all those countries and continents, everything? All of those people are in God's hands. He's got all of His children in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. Now, sometimes it gets windy, sometimes it gets rainy. There can be storms, there can be sun. There's a verse I like that says He's got the wind and the rain in His hands. He's got the wind and the rain in His hands. He's got the wind and the rain in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. You think you could sing it with me? You know what? Listen along the first time, and then we'll sing it again one more time so you can sing with me. Ready, set, go. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole wide world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got you and me, brother, in His hands. He's got you and me, brother, in His hands. He's got you and me, brother, in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, oops, you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got all of his children in his hands. He's got all of his children in his hands. He's got all of his children in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole 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 world in his hands. Isn't that fun? Now, I made a mistake when we were singing it. That's the fun part about singing. It doesn't matter. You can make a mistake. You just keep going. It's really fun. So we can sing it one more time, and then now you've learned it, you can do it with me. Ready, set, go. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got all of his children in his hands. He's got all of his children in his hands. He's got all of his children in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole 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 world in his hands. And he does, doesn't he? So good to remember. Boys and girls, remember our beautiful world. Remember the God that made it, and that he loves you, and he's taking care of you, and he's got us all in his hands. And have fun playing with Play-Doh, learning about the world, and singing that song. Have a great day and enjoy the outdoors. Bye-bye.